Selling your offer shouldn't feel this overwhelming, but for ADHDpreneurs, it often does. You know your offer is amazing, so why does the idea of selling it make you freeze? If you've ever overthought a sales post, ghosted your business after a launch, or avoided DMs out of fear, this episode is for you. Because today I'm revealing the ADHD sales struggle no one talks about. And more importantly, how to finally make sales feel effortless. Let's dive in. Welcome to the ADHD CEO Show, the podcast for ambitious entrepreneurs who are ready to stop fighting their brain and start building a business that works for them. I'm Elise Smith, ADHD sales and business mentor, multi-six-figure entrepreneur, and the creator of ADHD-preneur Academy. I help ADHD entrepreneurs ditch the overwhelm, simplify their sales, and scale in a way that actually feels good. Every week, we cut through the noise with dopamine-friendly business strategies designed to help you sell more, work less, and finally build a business that fits your brain. I'll see you in the show. If you've ever thought, I love what I do, I love my offer so freaking much, but why? Why is it so overwhelming to sell it? You're not alone. Today, we are diving into the ADHD sales struggles no one talks about. Because if you've been told that you just need to show up consistently to sell, I'm here to tell you that advice was never meant for your brain. Let's talk about what it actually takes and what really works for ADHD entrepreneurs. Because the truth is, I used to think I sucked at sales too, because I couldn't stick to that perfect plan, that perfect structure. And it turns out the problem wasn't me. It was the way I was trying to sell. Most ADHD entrepreneurs don't struggle with sales because they're bad at it. They struggle because the way traditional sales is taught is overwhelming as hell. Okay, you're told to follow up consistently, but your brain forgets every 10 minutes after you read a DM, right? So you are told to follow up consistently, but your brain forgets 10 minutes after you read the DM, right? We have this whole conversation in our head and we think we responded to that person and we didn't. And you're supposed to stick to a launch plan. But 2 weeks in, you're bored out of your mind and you want to pivot. Or if you're like me, you end up creating your launch plan, you get so excited about it because you're passionate about it, and then you just want to post everything in one day. Anyone? Yeah. So you hear that post daily, but some days you are super hyper-focused and showing up everywhere. And then other days you're just exhausted and you're burnt out and you disappear. And that's because most sales strategies weren't built for ADHD brains. They rely on structure, repetition, and self-discipline, three things that, let's just be honest, don't come naturally to us. And today I really want to talk to you a little bit about what no one tells you, but what I will preface this entire episode with before we even dive into this is I am not sharing these struggles for you to use this as an excuse for not showing up. So I'm going to call you out on your bullshit for a second and tell you, you will not make fucking sales if you don't stay consistent, if you don't show up and sell. But the unique thing here is that you're actually really good at it when you learn how to do it in a way that works to your advantage. And that is what I'm going to share with you today, because being consistent, it's required, right? Same thing as going to a job. You got to show up to get paid. Same thing. But the beauty is, as an entrepreneur, you have the power to use automations and systems and things that you may not be able to do at a job. Plus, at a job, you're kind of limited on what you can make, right? There is a cap. There's an income. There's a salary, a limited amount of hours, whatever you get paid. But you are going to have to find a way to be consistent. And that is why we have reshaped this entire podcast to show you how to build those systems that will be consistent for you, to show you how to have DMOs that will allow you to get dopamine-driven strategies, dopamine-driven rewards, because we know as ADHD entrepreneurs, that is huge for us, right? That dopamine, that energy, that is what builds that momentum. So I wanted to take probably longer than I really wanted to take to tell you that this is not an excuse. I will never tell you I made multi-six figures so far without being consistent. I will never tell you that I made multi-six figures because I ghosted my business. Were there days that I did that? 1,000%. But did I have to adapt and learn how to make that work for my business so that when I do need to be a potato, I can be? 1,000%. And that's exactly what I'm going to be teaching you here. So stick with me. You don't necessarily need more discipline. Does daily method of operations and what you're doing in your business need more discipline? Absolutely. But it doesn't have to be you. You need a system that works even when you need to check out. Because not only as someone with ADHD is it we need breaks, right? We need energy breaks, but also there's shit that happens in our life that we can't control. There are days I need to be with my kids and the business needs to wait. There are priorities. So regardless of what your hyper focus is or how many days you let your executive dysfunction take over, you need systems either way. And ADHDpreneurs don't struggle with selling. We struggle with sustaining the sales process. And that's because our brains crave novelty. So doing the same strategy over and over and over feels like torture. It's part of the reason our houses are so messy, our cars are so messy, because it's just like, oh, I gotta do this again. I just cleaned this damn thing yesterday. And that is the truth. So finding ways to reshape that are important. We get really stuck in decision paralysis. And I talk a lot about this in the Secret podcast series. So if you haven't already grabbed that, make sure you do. I'll drop it in the show notes for you. But it's a 10-episode mini-series. You can binge it in a couple hours about very specific things that I did and used and that helped me not only get my business off the ground, but sustain it. And so that decision fatigue is something I have a whole episode about, reducing the amount of decisions you have to make. Because overthinking every little step is very common for us. And so if you're having to overthink every little sales move down to like, what am I going to post today? What email am I going to send? Are people not buying my offer because it sucks? Should I start from scratch? All of the decisions are keeping you paralyzed. And so you're not selling. And then, of course, the hyperfocus, right? We hyperfocus on selling for a week. And then we're so exhausted because we went 150% for 7 days straight. And you end up just ghosting your business. And when I say ghosting your business, that doesn't necessarily mean you just don't show up. Because very rarely in my business ever have I not shown up. I mean, you can ask my students at the time. You could ask my clients I had. I had neck surgery. And the next day I was on Google Meets. Okay, like in a neck brace. One of my clients, agency clients at the time was like, what the fuck? And I'm like, yeah, I had neck surgery yesterday. And he was like, do you need to go? And I was like, hell no. Like, I don't like messing up my routine. I was already mad that I had to like not be here yesterday. So there's very few times where I just ghost. Well, ghosting might not mean for you that you just don't show up. Okay. Ghosting for you might be mentally ghosting. That is my struggle. So if I hyper focus on selling for a week and I burnt myself out, I would go redesign my website, or I would go, like organize my spice cabinet, my Google Drive, my phone, all my photos. So for me, I didn't really ghost to where I was like, I'm not showing up, because when I left my job, like there was no backup plan. So I knew I had to be on if I was going to make this business work. So you might look at some of my content. You might be listening to this podcast and think, I've never done that. I've shown up every day. Have you really shown up every day? Like selling your offer, serving your ideal client. So instead of forcing yourself into a rigid system that wasn't designed for you in the beginning, right? Let's flip that fucking script. You don't need to be consistent. And again, remember the disclaimer I gave you. You don't need to be consistent. You need to set up a sales process that is consistent for you, that works without you having to manually show up every day. That's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to give you some practical steps here. So if you have not already, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast, download this episode so you can come back and listen to it again. So here's one thing you could do today to make sales feel effortless. Create an ADHD-friendly, and I'm going to air quote here, so depending on where you're listening or watching, you may not see it, but lazy sales flow. And I almost hate using the word lazy because I am like the furthest thing from lazy, but there are days I want to be a potato. All right. So most people think sales mean hustling every day, right? You get that like car salesman vibe in your head where you're like, I got to get to the person out in the parking lot. I got to hurry up and get their name. I got to get my card in their hand before anybody else around me goes and gets that commission. But if you build a system that catches leads, sells to them on the back end, even when you need to be a potato, you can sell without the overwhelm. So let me explain to you how this works. First and foremost, pre-sell in your content. So instead of waiting for people to DM you first, like, oh, I found you on IG. I love your stuff. Let me buy something. you have to seed the sale in your content. So I'll give you an example, okay? ADHD sales strategies that don't require consistency. That's exactly what I teach inside my mentorship. So this might be something I put in a carousel. This might be something that I, talk about on this podcast. It might be something that I put in a reel, but this plants the idea before they even reach out. So not only am I just educating them with, hey, here's some sales strategies that don't require consistency, I'm planting the seed that I also teach you how to do this. This is that sow that moment. This is how you show the benefit and the transformation in your content. Step 2 is using a lazy follow-up template. Again, I hate using the word lazy, but it's more like working smarter, not harder. All right. I'm not the first person that's ever told you that. ADHD brains struggle with remembering follow-ups. I get my best ideas when I can't actually capture them. When I'm driving, my gosh, the amount of ideas that come to me when I'm driving, it's almost dangerous. All right. Because I'm driving. So I also tell you how I fix all of that in the Secret Podcast series too. So if you haven't listened to that, it's really good. But I have several strategies that kind of keep everyone on the road safe as possible while I capture my ideas, because those are my best ideas. I don't want to lose them. But one way you can do this is automating. Okay, automating the processes. So using pre-written DM templates so you don't overthink everything, right? That's part of the reason you might ghost your DMs, is if you are an overthinker. And then, of course, you have automation systems like ManyChat. StanStore now has DM automation. Anybody that's using any type of Go high level. So if Susie asked me a month ago about my academy and when it's going to launch, and now it is going to launch mid to end March, but maybe I want to follow up with her and just be like, hey, I know we chatted about this, and did you ever get that problem solved? Did you ever figure out a solution for that? It's very simple. Just thought of you today. Let me know if you have any questions. No pressure. Just here to help. Now, if you're a salesperson and you love sales, this is not the best sales script, okay? Because if you are actually using sales scripts, you should be closing the sale. But if you are someone who is skeptical to even do follow-up, try a little bit more permission marketing like this first. And I did a whole daily training inside my membership recently about permission marketing and how it kind of takes the pressure off of you and also puts the ball in your lead's court, in your ideal client's court, so they feel in control of the conversation and they also let their guard down, and it helps have a lot less objections. So again, I'll have in the show notes more information about the membership. I have daily trainings in there to help you with that. But then there's step 3 to this. Have a low effort CTA, all right? A low effort CTA. The easier it is to buy from you, the more people say yes. So depending upon what systems you're using, and softwares is a better word, depending on what softwares you're using, if it overwhelms you to have a complicated sales funnel, then do something really simple, right? DM me sales and I'll send you XYZ free resource. Click the link in my bio for instant access. Now, that is not something I would normally teach you. Click the link in my bio because we want that conversation to start. But if for some reason you are someone who's like, I don't like the DM automation, there you go, right? You want the exact system I use? Let's chat. Very low effort CTAs. Something that is very easy for your ideal client to say, yes, I want this. You remove the pressure of traditional selling and your system keeps working even when you forget about it, right? Or even when you need to take a day, take a break, all right? So if today's episode hit home, I really do break this down step by step inside the ADHD-preneur Academy. And this, again, is going to launch mid to end March. I'm not announcing the launch date yet. I want it to be a surprise. I want it to be, super exciting because I'm going to show you how to build a dopamine-friendly sales system that sells for you, even when you need to be a potato. But if this is something that you're really struggling with, you have to have ADHD-friendly ways if you're ever going to sell. Because this is actually something I said a couple episodes ago, but broke people hate sales, rich people love it. So you have to learn how to sell in a way that is comfortable for you so that you show up every single day. Because if you're not selling your content, you're basically working for free. So I will make sure that the link to the waitlist is in the show notes. Everyone on the waitlist will have access to early bird pricing. There will be a limited amount of spots for the first the first flow of people that will come in. And then after that, it will be application only. Or if you want to just DM me the word momentum on Instagram and I'll send it to you. But I'm going to send you a free ADHD sales breakdown to help you start today. Okay, so I'm going to recap what we talked about today if you DM me on IG. And if you send me a DM on Instagram with the word effortless, I'm going to send you a free ADHD sales breakdown to help you start today. So I'm going to kind of give you a checklist that goes with today's episode and really help you make selling simple and fun and actually work for your brain. And again, I'm going to deep dive and teach you how to do this step by step in the ADHDpreneur Academy. So I really hope to see you in there. And until next time, make it simple, make it social, and make it awesome. I'll see you inside.